I am.
All right. Hello, everyone, to our audience of zero. This is me, Rock, and MDA slash the Optimist.
What is up, everyone?
Uh, we got we got a lot to talk about. Mostly, a couple new tunes. You know, new TB's out. We might talk about the new TB a bit. Uh, we also have a little fun one for y'all. Chatting about what tune needs an Omicron. That will come a little later, but I guess for now, let's start with Zordy. If you want to go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, so we got the first character of the year. It is going to be Zori Bliss from. She was in Rise of Skywalker, and we're not going to do a full kit breakdown. They can be, especially with the recent kits, they can be a little wordy. So basically, the purpose of this character is to
To
bring up the leftover resistance characters that don't get to go with JTR or that just don't go with Ray. So it's your Finn, it's your OG Finn, OG Poe, Rose, Resistance Trooper, those kind of characters. And I'm not gonna lie, from early gameplay that we've seen from the people who wailed on the characters, and from just looking at her kits, I think this is going to be a really solid character. And this is going to, especially with her Omicron and Rose's Omicron, and yes, that is Rose's Omicron. This is going to be a Iden Dash Qui Gon Jinn level team in Grand Arena. And even without the Omicrons, this is a really solid team. So for any Ray people who have Ray, you're definitely going to want to get Zori up and running. Or if you're looking to maybe get Ray and you just didn't want to farm those other characters, they might have the answer here with Zori, and it looks like she's going to have some low star viability. Yeah, Rock, you took a look at Zori's kit. What was your thoughts on when you first saw Zori?
um, I didn't really get a chance to go through and read the whole thing and break it apart, but this is something that that I think Ray has been needing for a while. I mean, essentially, you farm all these characters, and I would say half of them just go to your bench on your roster and they don't do anything. I mean, before you could kind of get away with, there was a couple of Fin comps that could counter Geos, but wasn't very reliable, and it just seemed like a waste to, spend all these relics just to take out like a Gear 12 Geo team. But like that was its really only use for the most part. But I mean, it's nice knowing that now you don't have to, gear up like, I mean, MDA and I were talking about it before the pod. Like we were just like kind of brainstorming, and like there's even like a you could see like the resistance pilot getting some run in this team, even like Vet Han and stuff like that. Like you're gonna be able, not, yeah, Vet Han, you're even gonna be like, I think you're gonna be able to just take like Finn, Poe, Zordy, and just two, you know resistance characters that are not the hero bros or the unaligned force users in the faction, and be able to make it a pretty decent team to take, and that's gonna take out stuff like,
I
I
think
think like
from what we've seen is like I've seen CLS, I've seen Darth Revan, I've seen Dash. Um, I think honestly anything that you can run a turn meter train on or anything that is health dependent, I think this team is taking out no problem. So again, that's a lot of your bounty hunter teams, your Iden teams. Again, solid teams that you see all the time in Territory War and Grand Arena. This is now just going to be a permanent fixture.
yeah, and this is, I just wonder if this is going to be kind of a trend going forward with the next couple of marquees, because we saw it with Iden where she just kind of plugged a hole that we didn't know that we needed, where we have all these, Imperial troopers, and they just came in, slaughter into the game pretty randomly, and bam, now you make a whole brand new team up out of it. And so that would be my, like, I would love to see some other factions get some love like this, but overall, I think pretty good. I think she'll be decent.
Um, And so I think I'm looking at some of the podcast questions here, and I think that really kind of covers. I think I maybe want to go into um, Litho's question here. The first one on like an in-depth review of Ray's farm, and I'm not gonna lie, like Ray's farm kind of just got a lot cleaner because it traditionally was you you would gear up all the basically the whole resistance faction, and you would use the bros. Maybe you'd use BB-8s. You're using JTR. You're already using JTR because she was the previous resistance leader, and like maybe Holdo, and the rest of them just had like no run whatsoever. And it really kind of sucked when you're like, man, like Ray's good, but the resistance just kind of sucks after that. Whereas now, like the way that I see this, when you with Zori here, is like you can form two solid teams from Ray's faction. So like you can run when you farm this team up, you can have GL Ray and you can throw her with all the resistance characters. So like JTR, the bros, all that. And then now you have this Finn Poe Zori team that, functions as just a regular solid team, but then also because of Finn's Omicron, I mean, this is one of the best teams in, light side Geo, and then just the new, and when you start talking about Rise of the Empire, this is just one of the best TB teams, period. So you're now getting a team that, I think the Radis fleet is what it is. It's not as good as Finalizer, but it's a fleet. But these are two solid teams, and I think for how cheap they are to gear, this makes Ray's farm a lot better.
I would have to agree. Um, I think what do we want to just go ahead and just transition into the new TB? I guess we can just kind of
Yeah, so
style
we've had the
real.
new TB, the Rise of the Empire, and we've now, I think this is our second time running this in returns. Um,
Yeah.
I think we did Lightside Geo last time. I'm not sure. I think we're going to start transitioning to running it twice a month. Maybe not this month. I think that's a game time decision. But anyways, we've gotten our hands on it. We've gotten to see gameplay and experience it for ourselves. So, but for all the other guilds that haven't experienced it yet, we wanted to give a breakdown of like teams you should farm, characters you should be investing in, things like that. So I know you prepared some stuff for this. So why don't you let us know what you got?
I'm still kind of in the process of doing this, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to get a list of just like like a lot of the zones, a lot of the zones are going to have you require something. So like there's a node where it's like Relic 7 Wookiees. There's a node where you need, like I'm looking now, there's one at the very last phase. You need Afra, BT1, and 000 at Relic 9. And so like there's a lot of combat missions where like they force you to like high relic like specific characters. And so that was more or less kind of like what I'm getting to. But I would say like I think when you're trying to prepare for this TB, that I think you need to take it one phase at a time, and then like one zone at a time. So like for me, I pretty much have phase one light side down. I can do all the combat missions. I can't do the Kit Fisto and Mace mission, but that's something that, at some point I'll grind out, finish off Kit Fisto and do that mission. And then my next thing is trying to get some dark side teams together, in order to get some, because I'm pretty useless on the dark side. I get like one wave if God shines down on me and grants me that one beautiful wave. So, but I, you know, probably should have, thought this out more. Maybe we shouldn't have freestyled the new TP stuff.
I've got some thoughts here on the TB that I think like
Yeah.
for those who haven't been a part of it, like if you're wanting to know how this is different from Lightside Geo. So obviously we have the fixed relic zone, like the fixed relic zone. So like it starts R5, next phase is R6, and that is platoons and just using the characters. They have to be at a minimum of R6, which like it sucks, but it's one of those things that it is what it is, and we're dealing with it. And it goes all the way down to like starting in phase 5. It is relic 9 and above. So like phases 5 and 6 you need relic 9. Um, and so that is what it is. I'm not gonna lie though, the gameplay, it is, I would say, except for the ships, I would say like the ships are hard. Um, Especially the dark side missions. Good lord. Um, I've taken characters in that just die. Like these are full Relic 7 pilots and they just die. And it's like, all right, like I got the new scythe. And I'm like, all right, man, I'm so excited to go test out the scythe in TB. And it just gets turn one annihilated. It's like, all right, that's great. I'm so glad that I spent 3 months getting this ship in Conquest for it just to die turn one. Um, but I think for where the gameplay differs is it is much more like Galactic Challenges than it is like the old TB. A lot of the waves there is like a strategy to it, and it is one of those things that like it's less about getting the right relic levels or getting the right mods. It's more about like there is a strategy to it, and once you find that strategy or team, it is extremely easy. I think, for instance, like in P1, Coruscant is the light side planet, and there's this like crazy modifier where all your speeds are set to 150. Doesn't matter how fast your GL is or anything like that. It's set to 150, and at the start of your turn, you get dazed, and so you're in this constant state of like being dazed. And every time you damage the clones, they like gain turn meter and protection up, and it's really crazy. And like I think like what we were used to running in Lightside Geo or in Hoth, like it's just not going to fly here. You have to come up with something different. And I think like we've come and found like Padme works really well as one of the Lightside teams, or like we're seeing different things, and we're just getting used to it. There's modifiers that go with it, and the battles are much easier than they are in Lightside Geo, which is nice because it was rough sometimes in Lightside, and like the last phase of Darkside Geo were just like the battles were just like way overtuned, and there was just a level of RNG to it. Whereas here, like it's more forgiving, and it's more about just like as long as you hit the relic levels and you know the general gist of the strategy, you'll be fine. Um, this TB is also different where filling the platoons will get you more points than doing the combat missions themselves.
Yep.
So don't worry too much if you're not maxing out. I mean, obviously you want to get as many waves as you can, but it is more important that you farm the characters to fill the platoons and then, complete the platoons than completing all the waves. Because, like, we've had a bunch of people max out the waves, and we're not even close to getting a star. We have to preload all these zones, and it is solely dependent on filling the platoons. And again, some of these platoons are crazy. You've got R9 Lobots and T-Bows and like a lot of these characters that you don't want to relic, and CGs. That's what we have to do. But that's just kind of how it's different in my opinion. Have you, Rock, enjoyed this TB more than the previous TBs?
Um, I don't know. I still want to give it a couple more tries before I can say I like it. But I wanted to touch back from like the combat missions and how they differ, and how CG recently has been, advocating this like, oh, we want you to have a wide roster. We don't want you to be super focused where, you just get, the best, you get the meta, and then you go on with your day. And like in phase 1, that light side no on Coruscant, like running JML Jedi Knight Luke lead is terrible. Like you don't really want to run Jedi Knight Luke lead there because you don't get any benefit from the his little speed thing where he like resets your speed because it doesn't matter. And then CLS works pretty well. CLS lead works very well in phase 1. But phase two, CLS lead doesn't work very well. Rolo Omnicron is a little bit better. So it's not it's like you said, like, you need the teams at the certain relic levels, but there's more of like a puzzle. I try to think of this as more of a puzzle than like light side Geo. Like I remember like the early days of light side Geo, you would take in a full relic team, you would take one turn, and then you would just get crushed. And it's not like a brute force where like you have a wall slamming into you and you have to, go from taking it down with a hammer to a jackhammer. Like this is not like how this TB works. It's more of, you know, not good at analogies, but you know, it's more like how can I get around the wall instead of having to break it down? I guess would be my way of putting it. Is
So don't tell
it's more
Lorian, but there's been some times in P1 where I definitely did not remod my teams, and I took some below average modded teams into
yes,
these battles, and obviously the battle would have been easier if I had remodded, but like you were still able to beat it. As long as you knew what you were doing, you were able to beat it. Whereas I don't think we can say the same for like P4 of Darkside Geo or like all the phases of Lightside Geo. Like a remod was almost mandatory.
yeah. Uh, I'll share a secret here. I have not remodded once us doing this TV. I haven't done it, and I've done pretty well. I
Gasp.
would say.
Gasp.
Like you don't need the remod. I would, but like you don't need to have like terrible mods. Like if you know you have a character like for example, like my Rolo, I don't put very good mods on her when we're not in TV. So I'm gonna remod her, but like I'm gonna keep my regular, gas mods on. I'm gonna keep my regular, GK mods on. I'm not gonna, go above and beyond for some of these tunes that I already put decent mods on. But if it's like a below average team or a below average tune that I know I don't mod well, like I'm gonna remod. But for the most part, like you don't have to remod. It's actually pretty nice, I would say. I think that's a good kind of quality of life thing that they did for this TB.
Now, I know the other question you were thinking of is, well, MDA, we noticed that Riva is the new, she's the new cam of this TB, and there's a special mission for her, and we have the whole Riva Chad section. Do we need to have, like, crazy mod templates for this mission, or, how difficult is the mission? And Rock and I can confirm. I ran the mission today, and Rock watched a bit of gameplay, and I will have this gameplay up later today, or maybe tomorrow. But it is really easy. Like, I would say it is easier than the Watt mission. It is solely get your Inquisitors up to Relic 7, and it does not matter which of the two attackers that you pick. They work interchangeably, and it's pretty much like there is, like, I think one move that actually matters, and it's when you use the cleanse with Grand Inquisitor. But other than that, it is really easy, and there's very little RNG in the run that will cause you to fail, like the cam mission, or even sometimes with the Watt mission. Sometimes with the ability block, it can be a little goofy, but like it is very, very easy, and there is no reason if you have 50 people in a guild that have R7 Inquisitors that you can't go 50 for 50. So I know you guys have been seeing me in the chat all the time. Inquisitors are a great team. I know they've been memed on a lot, and I know they're expensive, but as someone who owns Grand Inquisitor, the team is fantastic, and especially in this new TB, they work really, really well. I would say on the Mustafar section, they are my go-to team for one of the sections, and then in Geonosis, I take them to battle the Acklay, and they take care of business. I've seen Galactic Legends struggle versus the Acklay, and the Inquisitors just, you can auto it. So I would say if you're going to invest in any team, that's going to be one of them. Yeah, that's my bit for Riva and the Inquisitors there.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but you probably won't need a coach for this. Like you won't need to, get someone to coach you through this.
Oh,
Like this is
absolutely
the
not. Yeah, you don't need a coach for this.
like you don't need a coach. I mean, this thing is almost borderline auto. Like you could almost just after the cleanse, you could throw this on auto and probably beat it. Like it's I mean, I take that back. I probably wouldn't go that far, but I have heard stories of people just saying, "Yeah, I got in there and I just threw it on auto at the beginning and won." But I don't know if that was just blind luck or that's how easy this mission is, but that is.
But I think to wrap up this section here with like the new TB is there really is no reason to panic about like, oh, we need all, R9 teams.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you have been doing. Focus on the teams you want to farm, the Gasses, the Jedi Knight Lukes, the Inquisitors, the Galactic Legends. You focus on these teams, get them to Relic 5. Once you have some Relic 5 teams, maybe focus on getting some of them to Relic 7. And as you're going, find what characters need to be platoons and then just how when we have it set it up in returns, we have a checklist and someone in the guild will take something and say, okay, yeah, my IPD, I'll take him up to Relic 5, and one person will do that, and maybe one person becomes two people, and we slowly start to build these things up, and it's a lot less daunting than it originally appeared when this TB first came out. So just take it a few steps at a time. I mean, shoot, we're getting like 21 stars.
And we're filling, I think, 3 total
Yeah,
operations.
3 total operations. Yeah.
Like, we don't even completely finish one.
But yeah, it's something to look forward to, and definitely it's not as bad as it first appeared. But I think we want to jump into the next thing here. This was
Well, actually, you know what? I don't really think we answered Litho's question because he was talking more about like farms.
okay.
Um, I have this nice little list that I just finished up, and I think this is how I want to mind frame this in my way of thinking. So I went through all the zones, and I went through and I found what do you need and what relic level you need, and this is quite the long of a list that I think I'm going to bore you guys with. So just to give you an idea of what you need, let's go ahead and do it. Mason Kit Fisto R5, Outrider the 7-star, Lando's Falcon the 7-star, Jabba the R9, Dr. Alfra to R9 as well. Kira, she has 2 missions. One you need her at R5, one you need her at R8. You need L3 at R8. You need Young Han at R5 and R7. You need Vandor Chewie at R9. You need Scythe at 7-star. You need Lord Vader at Relic 5 and Relic 9. You need Geos at R7. Young Lando to R6. You need Hondo to R6. You need an R7 Empire. You need an R7 Fennec. You need an R7 Grand Inquisitor and then an R7 Inquisitors. And then you need a couple of the Inquisitors to R8. And then you need Riva at 9 for a mission. You need Executor to 7-star. You need a Jedi Squad to R8. You need Wookiees to R7. Profundity at 7-star. Phoenix at R8. You need Cassian and K2 to R9. You need Pow at R9, and you need Iden at R9. That is the full list of, if you have all that checked off, you can do all the combat missions. But it sounds daunting because that sounds like a lot of stuff. But I think if you look at it from you take a step back and you say, well, if I get Jabba, Jabba is 5 missions. I get Dr. Alpha, that's 2 missions there. I think you should look at this TB and this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. I think you shouldn't be going into this just trying to brute force it. I think you just take it a step at a time. And then there's going to be a lot of teams that will open up. We don't even have any, info on the Karth Omicron. We don't have any info on how Bad Batch with the
I've
Uh,
actually heard and seen
Omega.
Bad Batch and Karth Omicrons are actually really, really good. Karth, like
Okay,
especially on the Tatooine ones, is really good, or like in the mix zones, Karth is really good. And then Omega is also one of the heroes for this
that's right.
TB. So Bad Batch do really, really well, especially with the Omicron.
I agree. I think if you want your best bang for your buck of like an order to do things, like what order you should be farming things for this TB, I would say first Inquisitors. Get Riva, get a team that's going to beat almost every dark side node. Uh, I mean, Riva's going to be beating some GLs when she comes to the scene. She's going to beat GLs in both Territory War and Grand Arena. She's going to be legit. You're going to want her. Second up, I would say Jabba, because Jabba has I think 5 missions. That's the most of
I
any
think he's
tune.
got one in every zone. I think
I think I,
Jabba's,
I thought
yeah,
he skipped one.
maybe
Hang
he
on, let me
yeah maybe he
check.
does skip one, but like he has one at the beginning, he has one at the end, and in like and especially in the middle too. Like
Yeah.
he's got a lot.
Second up, third up, I would go Afra slash platoons. Figure out what your platoons are, what you need for platoons, and I would say like if you have all 50 people in your guild picking up one tune, that's 50 tunes. For that's not even enough to fill a whole, operation is what they call it, because you need 60. If my math is, yeah, I think that no, I think it's 75 actually. Hang on, I'm sorry. 90 actually. Wow, way off. Jesus. So you need nine. So you got to think everybody in your guild is gonna have to pick up more than one tune. I would I would go ahead and I would try to like, pick stuff that's in a group. Like if you're going to pick up one Ewok, pick up the rest of them. Like there's no reason to go and try to get a full relic Ewok squad, because at least you'll get some use out of them. It's better than just picking and choosing random teams from a faction and having them sit in your roster. Like just pick up what you can, pick up, you know, decent amount of stuff. And then I would say Afra and the platoons are tied for fourth, for third. Afra's got 2 nodes. She's going to be really good. Go ahead. Fourth and fifth, I would say Profundity and Executor. Time up. They're they're both needed in a node. They're both pretty good. So why not? And then after that, you're gonna need a Jedi squad. You're gonna need an Empire squad. You're gonna need stuff like that. And I would even say that, you might want to try to get your empire up and running kind of soon, just because that Palp and Iden, that not Iden, but Palp and Mara Jade is very good for combat missions. Uh, the dark side nodes are very unforgiving in phase one. It's pretty much, do you have a Grand Inquisitor? Yes, you win platoons. Do you have a Galactic Legend? Yes, you beat combat missions. If you don't have either of those things, you don't win. Like, I mean, I've seen bounty hunters win a couple, but it's dicey. Uh,
Even troopers have
yeah,
started to like
Trooper.
they really kind of fall off. Troopers are like I think was everyone's go to for Dark Side Geo, and they just don't work as well.
Even like, hell, I've taken in Malgus lead with all the Sith Empire, and I'm getting crushed. Like sometimes, like I'll go in there and just lose phase one. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is a conquest character, and I'm not even winning with Malgus. Like that's Dark Side's pretty tough, but that Marjade and you know Palp team goes crazy because you get a turn meter loop, and then you can essentially stagger them, which is almost like a stun in a way. Then you just turn meter loop them to shit like that. That is the team for Dark Side nodes, I would say. But yeah, I think if you're looking to like farm for this, I think you take it one phase at a time, one team at a time. Look at it and be like, what can I get accomplished in phase one? I got the majority of stuff that I can do in phase one. Let me go on to phase six. Like, don't be afraid to say, hey, in that third row of planets where I need R7 teams, I'm going to be useless for a couple months. Don't try to speed run it and, be okay with, kind of being useless there for a bit because that's just kind of the nature of this thing is you're not really meant to speed run this territory battle. This is going to be kind of a grind here. And that's my big spiel. I'll stop talking for the next couple of minutes and let you babble. If you want to go on the next thing, let's.
I know. I would say that really sums up the TB really nicely. I've liked it so far, and it's something that like I think the whole point of like I think what they wanted us to do is to like feel that panic sense of like, oh, I need to start relicking up characters, or oh, I need to start investing in this, and is like it is with everything in this game. It's just like, look, like take it one step at a time, you know, focus on what you're doing, and lay out a roadmap of what you want. And when you're ready to move on to the next one, like move on to the next one, and go at your own pace, and be involved with the guild. That's really like it. It'll be a good experience if that's how you take it. Wanted to touch on the next topic here, and this actually just came up today within like the past like 2 to 3 hours. It was the phase one of the Lord Vader GL battles. And for those of you who have not seen gameplay of it or who have not done the Lord Vader, first battle, is you go up against, it's you and the Bad Batch, and you go up against, it's from the Clone Wars Season 7 episode. And at the end, it's General Skywalker by himself, and he fights Admiral Trench. And from what people noticed was the battle was crashing because Trench was causing the issue. His model was like not there, and this got brought up in the event server, and they said this is very similar to what happens with the Sith Eternal battles. With the Sith Eternal battles, when Ben Solo was in that P like 4, 5, and 6 for Sith Eternal. And this is right before Ben Solo was added to the game via Conquest. So now everyone is basically, I think this is a soft way of confirming that basically what they're doing is they are moving the model and all that from that area to the game to a new area of the game, and they just didn't go and, put the old one back or, duplicate or whatever how the spaghetti code works. But it is within reasonable suspicion that Admiral Trench for the Separatist will be coming in some shape or form. So I think this brings the question up. We'll talk about Trench specifically just for a second, but I think especially because we should be getting the new Conquest character next week. Who is the next Conquest character going to be? But let's talk about Trench just for a second here. Do you see Trench coming to the game, and in what way do you see him coming?
I think he's going to be our next conquest, just because uh he kind of like I know he doesn't get a lot of like screen time. He has that one arc, and then he shows up in season 7, but like he's up there as like a Thrawn level fleet commander. Like he is pretty. It's been so long since I've seen that arc, but like, isn't he like undefeated? Like when he goes up against like Anakin was the first one to deliver his first defeat or something like that. Like he's like that type of, you
Yeah,
know,
that sounds about right.
like strength wise, it makes sense to make him a conquest character. Like he's got the strength to be a conquest character, and I think it would be kind of fitting for the Separatists as a faction because you have Grievous on the downturn as like a meta character. Like, yeah, Grievous is gonna beat a couple GLs. He's gonna still beat some stuff, but like Grievous on defense is very bad just because he gets beat by so much stuff. He's really an offensive character, and it's just kind of a outdated meta team at the moment. Um, Newt Gunray lead is pretty much dead. You can't really run anything with that anymore. Um, the whole faction's just kind of one of those that's like a dead end for the most part. Other than, I mean, I'd say actually they're not really a dead end, but because Grievous and the Separatists lead the gas, and JMK. But other than that, there's not much it leads to. So, I mean, Trench would make sense from if, they just added in, a new resistance character to fill a hole. I could see them adding Trench to fill a hole and revitalize a separatist faction. That's my take.
I'm definitely with you on the separatist faction really needs a facelift. Like you said, Grievous and like they've got a lot of like mini factions inside of the separatist tag. So like you have the Geonosians, which like are they're a bottom level team. At the end of the day, like
Yeah.
they're a marquee level team, and they're needed in TBs, and they beat some stuff, and they're kind of tricky on defense, but ultimately a lot of teams beat them, and they are a early to mid game team, and that's pretty much it. Um, Grievous Droids is like a mid game team, and they are good for, I would say, once you get past the Jedi Knight Revan, Darth Revan stage of the meta, when you start getting into the General Skywalkers and the Jedi Knight Lukes and above, um, it falls out of favor. You can do some funny stuff with turn meter with the droids, but ultimately that is what it is. You still in like in the high ends of Kyber, you'll still see Grievous, but he's a back wall team at this point. He's not a front wall team. Um, and Newt and Dooku are just like you have a lot of in the Separatist faction, just a lot of like individually like good kits, but they're just either outdated or they've just been like other things have come and passed them by. Um, I definitely think there is the need for Trench to come in and do what Mon Mothma did, do what Iden did, do what Dash Rendar did, do what Zori Bliss is just doing, and like make this team, give him an Omicron that like really makes this better. Selfishly, I personally am in the camp that I think that Dooku should get a rework. I think a Mace Windu level rework. And Trench should just be like an additional lifter marquee level character. But at the same time, I'm also fine if they just kind of give Omicrons and do what they need to do. I can see Trench being a conquest character. However, I do hesitate because when I look at kind of characters that came before him, I look at Admiral Radis. I look at Admiral Piet. And these are characters that had named and speaking roles in the movies, and they piloted or they were in command of, shoot, like the Radis was the profundity was a huge deal, and Admiral Radis was the commander of that, and they named the Radis in the Last Jedi after him, and Admiral Piet, was the commander of the Executor, the huge super star destroyer, and both of them were just marquee level characters, and they're really good marquee level characters, but they weren't conquest characters, and so this is where I'm hesitant to say that Trench will be the next conquest character. I think he's definitely coming to the game. I'm on the fence, and it's also because selfishly I want a different character to be the next conquest character, and that is my only reason. That I have a lot of my doubts there. But I do think, though, I think you and I are both in agreement that Trench is coming to the game sooner rather than later in some shape or form.
Yeah.
So with that being said, let's stick on because next week we should get the announcement because they have to load Conquest into the game. Um, let's. I think we mentioned Trench. We can definitely like have him on our short list, but let's also give some other people that we could also see outside of Trench that could be the next Conquest character. So I'll let you go first.
Um, I know it's not going to be in line with like who they've thrown in because typically, it's usually a conquest lifter like a lifter unit for a GL, or just like a lifter for an already established faction to make them even better. Like it's kind of what Bobasana Django was supposed to be, but he didn't really pan out as well. He's good, don't get me wrong, but out of all the other Conquest characters, he kind of falls off a little bit. But like I could see the Night Sister girl from, uh
Oh, Marin.
yeah, Marin. I could see her being a Conquest character just because like the Night Sisters need a facelift, and I don't think a Marquis is gonna be the facelift they need. And if they really want an opportunity to, throw Night Sisters into the meta, then it would have to be with a Conquest character. Because this team needs a little bit more than just, one Marquis to like really establish it. Um, I'll steal yours. I think you mentioned a like another Rebel Leia, like the indoor Leia.
Oh, I think Endor Leia is going to be a GL. I don't think that she's going to be a conquest unit.
I don't know. I think I might have to lean GL there. I mean, Conquest character. I'm just kidding. Who did you have in mind? Because I don't really have a whole lot in mind for a Conquest character.
So I got a couple here, and I wanted to like I've based a lot of how I interpret CG and how I interpret the characters in game based off this definition. CG gave this about maybe a year or two ago, and it's the way that they define
Yeah.
power. They defined power levels, and the power levels that they've told us is at the bottom is Marquee. So those are your Zoris, your Idens, any character that you've got in a pack or that you can just farm in game, that's at the bottom level. I would say next is your journey guide, your legendary, your raid characters, those, and then I would say with the TB characters being at like that is the section there. It is journeys, legendaries, raids, TBs. They get an elevated section there. They are going to be, when you have these teams here, I expect them to beat or elevate a faction to be better than most, if not all, marquee teams, and they should be, rivaling each other for power. Next is the epic confrontation and conquest characters. So when I see these characters, they are taking a character to, they are beating most, if not all, legendary teams, and they are beating. They are considered, like, before we take in GLs, like epic confrontation and conquest characters are making some of the best teams from the journey guide teams. Next is Galactic Legends, and then Galactic Legends with lifters, and that's kind of their power tier. And Omicrons and all that are meant to take a team from that level and go up or down, or to go up one or up two, and that's kind of their idea. It's not a perfect science, but that's how they said that's their intention. So when I see conquest characters, and especially the characters that they have released, they have been, I would say, maybe with the exception of ships, because the ships are kind of goofy. These have been bigger names. These have been Boba Fett, Scion of Django. This has been Maul and Katz. This has been Darth Malgus. This has been Ben Solo. These are main characters that are here, and so it's and I know that, like, Ben Solo was only in the movie for 5 minutes. We all know what I mean by this. This is his ultimate form with this character here. So when I'm looking at some of these factions, I'm seeing, okay, so what has a need to be elevated, but then also what has a character that is deserving of that power, that power level. So, like, I expect conquest characters to be, on the same power tier as Gas, Malik, Jedi Knight Luke, Maul, and I think, like, Boba Fett, Scion of Django in Territory Wars, he is absolutely as good as Gas in some of these teams. So when I'm looking at this here, a couple jump out to me in my head. I think the Old Republic Jedi team. I think we could see Satele Shan, who would mirror Malgus, and she would be the what Malgus was for the Sith Empire. She would go and like you would run a team of like Satele, Jedi Knight Revan, Bastila, Jolee, Juhani. You would do something like that. Or I could see, if not Satele, you run it's Mitra Surik from the KOTOR 2 game. You could do something like that. I think the Old Republic Jedi team is in need of a lift there. I actually, surprisingly or not, I actually think Jar Jar would be a great Conquest character, and let him lift up the Padme team. I think that would be great. I think my preferred, though, when I said earlier, when I would say who I selfishly wanted to be the Conquest character, I think Supreme Leader Snoke is coming next. That is my, if I was a betting man, I personally think it's Snoke, and I think he is intended to be a lifter for Sith Eternal. I think because they did say that they intend on giving lifters to previous GLs, and I think they're looking at characters that people haven't really farmed, and some people have Sith Eternal because he's really easy to get, but not a lot of people are really using him, and they're using him, in funny ways. I think they do have a set way that they want him to be used. I think Snoke makes sense for that as the lifter. So that's who I think, selfishly, who I think is coming next. But when I'm also looking here, it's tough. I mean, they could go a lot of different ways. I think getting Afra a tank could be pretty cool. A lot of different ways that they could go with that, with droids or with bounty hunters or scoundrels and all that. But I think those three are the ones that I'm like most confident in. I think Jar Jar, I think Snoke, and I think Satele Shan or Mitra for Old Republic. Those would be, I think, in terms of like main characterness and in terms of like where they fit amongst the faction is where I'm at.
And then I take a complete opposite stance. I just look at a name and say, that'll work. It's like throwing darts at a board for me.
Which, don't get me wrong, when I see someone like, I remember like, when Malgus came to the game, that threw me through a loop. I'm like, man, I didn't even know this was an option. And now that this is an option, honestly, at this point, they could add anything. And it's not that he wasn't deserving or that he didn't have a place in the meta, because he's absolutely made his place in the meta, but it's just like, at this point, like, the opportunities are when Starkiller was brought to the game. I never in a million years thought that Starkiller would come to the game.
For sure.
So, but yeah, that's I think those are our takes on the next Conquest characters. I'm gonna go see if we got any other topics here. We touched on Takuma's question there. Dinkatoid asked, when do we get the fourth brother? And I'm a pretty big Inquisitor expert. I actually did not know who the fourth brother is, and I had to do a quick little Google. Looks like he was a Inquisitor in the comics, I want to say. I'm looking to see. I don't know if he's either in a book or a comic. I don't think he's been in anything on screen. I actually think we're done with Inquisitors. I don't think we're getting any more content for them. What say you?
I don't know. Like, if we were gonna get more content for Inquisitors, it would have to be, because right now we have 6 that you can actually use. Reva's not, like, no one has Reva unlocked, but there's 7 Inquisitors. If they were going to add more Inquisitors, I think they would have to go with 3 more. And I just don't know if they could do that.
I just like from what I've seen, again, I don't think they would be like, they would just be marquee characters, and I just like, I don't see the need for that at this point.
Yeah.
I think it was inevitable, especially when the Kenobi show came out. Reva was coming to the game in some shape or form. I think anyone who didn't think she was coming was ignorant. But I just like, I mean, sure, they could add another Conquest ship and make like Eighth Brother the pilot. They could absolutely do something like that. But in terms of like characters, I don't think we're going to get any more. I think we're going to have we're gonna have a GAC team. We have a TW team, and like in 3v3, you can either make one dominant team or split them up into, you know, two good teams. Not sure how how the best splits are gonna go, but like I think we're done with Inquisitors.
I would have to agree. Um, what's next? You want to go into our who needs an Omicron?
Absolutely, I would love to get into who needs an Omicron. Um,
So both MDA and I just have a list of who we want, and so I think my list is a little bit bigger than his, but I think what I'll do is I'll just go first. But if you have one that you agree on, go ahead and say it. But if you have one you don't agree on, please tell me off. I think I would appreciate it. And so the way I did my list was I kind of thought about like what teams have an Omicron in one game mode but could really use one in another. Or what individual tunes are like they're kind of in the meta, but they're not very good in the meta. They're kind of, C tier or B tier units that really don't have a place, but you just kind of throw them on a team to because you just have them geared. And so I'll start it off with Bodhi for Territory Battle. One, he's a hero unit for the new TB. He's he's resistance, he's rebel fighter, and I think he should get a TB Omicron just so he becomes a little bit more relevant. Lay it on me. What you think?
I don't know about like TB Omicrons because so like he's meant to run in either a Rebel Fighter team and a Rogue One team, which like they both already have TB Omicrons because Kyle Katarn has one and
That's right.
Cassian
But
has one.
but isn't Kyle's more tailored toward Jedi though, or does it have some?
It's more like it enhances his stuff, so like it prevents turn meter, and then it makes his stuff irresistible, and then it just allows him to share the benefits that he has with Rebel Fighters with Jedi. But like, so
Okay,
it still perfectly works fine though with Rebel Fighters.
okay, that makes sense.
Um, I don't know, like, because again, Cassian's. I've been impressed from what I've seen from Cassian's Omicron. I think Bodhi being the hero enough to, in my opinion, is enough to like, if you want to gear him up or if he's needed for a platoon, you can throw him in with Mon Mothma. You can throw him in with Radis and Cassian and all that, and he'll help the team out because he's doing some stuff. But I don't know. I don't know about giving him a TB Omicron. I could maybe see like, I don't know because like Rogue One got a decent amount because like Jin got a TW, Radis has a GAC, Cassian has a TB. Maybe if they gave like a Rebel Fighter GAC Omicron, it could be Bodhi, but like I don't know. I mean, I do agree. He like I wish that he had a bit more use, but I don't know about
And
TB.
I always forget that Cassian has a TB Omicron. I swear, like even though his is like the coolest, like he turns into like Watt and like all that. I forget he has one. So here's my second one up: is either Mission or Zalbar. One or the other doesn't really matter. Give it to one of them. My reasoning for it is Karth has that TB Omicron, but the squad is complete booty cheeks in Territoire and Grand Arena. Like I would love to see them like give Mission a an Omicron where you can actually use that old Republic Karth lead, and I don't want to be like super overpowered like the Qui-Gon or whatnot, but like make it like an Ewok or almost like an Iden level Omicron, like something that like it helps. Like it's gonna help you beat some stuff.
I'm actually with you here. Mission and Zalbar actually have a really solid duo, and like them to like also like a Relic Mission hits hard,
Yeah.
and Zalbar's super tanky. I was actually thinking like give either like you said Mission or Zalbar doesn't matter. I think I'd probably lean towards Mission, but like I personally think make it to where like it's like Hondo's Omicron, where like
Yeah, okay.
put him within, because it's kind of similar to like how they were in the game, where like it doesn't really matter who's in the leader slot. Give them some just like insane synergy between the two of them, and they like boost a leader's stats or something. And obviously, like they would probably work best with Karth or with Jedi Knight Revan or like Bastila or something. But like, it'd be cool if they like had some just like insane synergy, like, or like how 000 and BT work together, where like they just like call each other out even more, and they just become a duo where like shit, you could put like old Ben or anyone who just has a leader ability and it'll work. I think that would be cool, but I think definitely Mission or Zalbar would be a fun one to give an Omicron to.
I would agree. I think the one that me and you both were kind of looking for. You want him reworked, but I'll be okay with an Omicron. But Dooku, I really do think Dooku needs a. And see, Dooku is a character that he can go with Separatists, but he doesn't really have a home. Like he doesn't fit into Geonosians. He doesn't fit into the Dooku droid team. He fits very well with Newt Lead, but even then, he's not too terribly good with Newt. He's not the best Sith. Like you can stick him as a fifth with like Treya, or you can stick him with Sith Eternal, but like he doesn't really fit in anywhere as a Sith. He doesn't really fit in anywhere as a Separatist. He's just kind of this in between character. And my ideal for Dooku is give him a Territory War Omicron, because right now in GAC there's 3 Sith, not including Malgus, but there's 3 like Sith synergy Grand Arena Omicrons. And I'm saying give Dooku a Territory War Omicron and make it like a very Sith heavy Omicron, where you can stick him with, C and it's going to make C a little bit better, or you can stick him with, that Sidious Omicron and make Sidious better. Like, I would love Dooku to be like the Juhani of Starkiller. That's my take.
I get what you're saying there. Yeah, I think I'm of the camp that I think Dooku should just get a rework, just because I think that like for his importance in canon, I think he should be better. And his kit's like not horrible, and this is where I could settle for a Omicron, where like I get major like Savage vibes. I always saw Savage's kit, and I'm like, maybe if this was in the right lineup, or if they tweak this a little bit, this could be really fun. And Dooku is kind of like that for me. So like when I see him, I like that he ignores protection and he does more damage and regains protection when attacking at a turn. That's really cool. However, like whenever he stealths himself, so like he can't counter if he's under stealth unless it's like an AoE or something. But the problem is like you can't just like, he's not a solo character, because like unless it's like a huge relic disadvantage, Dooku just like doesn't have the defense to really be doing that. And so he's like good in 3v3 under like a Newt lead, which like it's cool because you have the extortion, Newt tells him to go assist, but like that's pretty much it though. And it's just at the end of the day, it's just like a marquee level. It's an annoying team. And his stats just like are so outdated. I believe he has the lowest physical damage for an attacker, and he has one of the worst like defense penetrations in the game.
Yes.
So like and again, he does some more damage and he ignores protection and all that, and I get that, but like he just doesn't do a lot of damage, and his debuffs are like, a 50% chance to land ability block and stun. It's like that's lame. Like let's clean that up. Like give an Omicron, or maybe Trench will fix this, but like I think, like you said, I wish that like either give him some Separatist synergy, give him like some more Separatist synergy, give him some Sith synergy, give him like a facelift. And especially because like this is a character that we have to take to Relic 8, and even at Relic 8 he just like doesn't really do anything, and it's just kind of lame. Especially for like such an important character. Like if he could just be elevated to like give him a rework or give him an Omicron that like makes him mace level, where like he's not like super dominant, but for like a squad arena character, yeah, this is usable. Like Mace is awesome now since his rework and all that. So I agree with you though there with Dooku.
Uh, like I would love for Dooku to get a 3 Zeta rework, but knowing CG and how stingy they are with reworks, I just don't see it happening. But like, I wouldn't mind like Omnicron. I think the big thing with Dooku is like he just doesn't have a use. Like he's yeah, he has very bad physical like damage. He doesn't do a lot of damage, but like his kit is pretty nice. Like he stuns a lot. He's pretty fast if I remember right. I think he's like 170 base speed. So
No,
like
I
he's
think it's
you can
like I think it's like even higher than that. I think it's like 187. He's got really high base speed.
yeah, I think like he has like a high base speed so you can like I have my Dooku modded with like very bad mods. I think my highest like speed secondary on him is like 13 and I have him modded at like 312. And so like he can go first and his like stun is pretty reliable. So like he's really reliable to go first, get a stun out, and then that's about all he does. And then he's good for like a very good control team. The issue is he just doesn't do anything else other than control. Like I would love to see an Omicron that like buffs his damage. Like something that like every time he attacks out of turn, so like every time he counterattacks, he gains like a buff that stacks his offense. And so as the battle goes on, the more you attack him, the more damage he's going to start doing. Like that would be the perfect Omicron for him.
I would say like when you talk about him as a control team, and again like you said, his kit is like 85% of the way there. But I would say most of the control though is reliant upon like Newt's mechanics and less so
Yes.
on his mechanics. And it's one of those where it's just like Newt's fine. Like Newt, his character, I think does exactly what he should do, and I think it's perfectly designed. I think Dooku needs an individual facelift or a character that will buff him up. But no, I agree with you there. Did you have any other characters on your list?
I have a couple more, and then I have 2/3 factions.
Solid,
I
solid.
have one. I have one that's kind of a funny one. Cup. I'm gonna say give Cup an Omicron, but this one's more of a not really. It's more of a long shot, mainly because my whole thinking was, well, Cup has zero use in the game. He's god awful, and he's needed for platoons. So what better way to kind of reward people for R9 Cup than give him an Omicron? My ideal for it would be, a territorial Omicron that pairs with Padme. That's all I want.
If they can give Tusken Raider a semi decent Omicron,
That's what I'm
they
saying.
they can they can give Cup an Omicron. Like
Come on.
there's no reason they can't do it. And again, like it doesn't have to be broken. Just like
If
clean up some of the dated stuff in his kit and like make it to where like okay yeah like should I go out of my way to farm him? No, but like if you do or if you do it like you said for platoons, you
yeah,
can at least make him usable.
if Luminara has an Omicron, Cup can get an Omicron.
Yeah, like again, and Luminar is like it's I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's fine.
Yeah,
Or like how they did Mob Enforcer's kit, how they reworked her.
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, no, so I'm with you there.
My next up is another tune that's kind of like Dooku, where he's kind of an in-betweener, where he's okay with each of these factions, but he's not great. And that's HK. I think HK
Yeah,
is I think he's a very okay droid, but he's a very good, I would say he's a good Sith Empire. But now with the emergence of Malgus, like you can't use HK anymore. And then he also doesn't synergize very well with Shorty either. So like he's just this tune that like if you invested into him, he's now pretty much worthless. And I wish they would
yeah,
give him ideally I think a Grand Arena Omicron would be perfect for him because you have that T3 Omicron that pairs with Shorty and then you just give HK a Grand Arena Omicron that pairs with Shorty, and now you have a use for him. He's no longer this, useless tune that you felt that you had the, relic and such.
yeah. No, I mean I mean obviously um, he was designed to be run with Darth Revan, but like on his one like you like put it on his unique, his one that
Yeah.
that has a Zeta on it, and like just give him an Omicron there, because like again, when you're looking at like a sortie team, you've got T3 there. You might have BB-8s. You might have some of these other droids. But like I mean, most people are running IG-88 as opposed to him, or like other characters, and it's just like man, like this is screaming HK to be in this team, and it sucks because like he doesn't have a bad kit. It's just that so much of it is tied to Darth Revan.
Yeah. And he's so codependent on Darth Revan, but now that, you know, you need a full Sith Empire team or you need a full Sith team for a lot of Malkus's mechanics to work, HK kind of just gets thrown to the side and he just sits on rosters. So I would like to see him get just an Omicron for that. And then my last three comes to like a faction. Like my whole theme with this is a faction that has an Omicron in one game mode. Give them one in another. I'll start with the kind of Iden team because Iden has that Grand Arena Omicron, but in Territory War they're eh. They're not great, but they're not bad. They're eh. I would love to see them throw one on either Snow Trooper or Range or Magma Trooper or Death Trooper or even Stormtrooper. Give Stormtrooper an Omicron and make it for Territory War. Give them a Territory War Omicron where, they can't get soloed by just random shit. Like make them actually usable in Territory War for the most part.
You know what would be interesting is Stark,
Ooh, yeah.
because
I would like Stark. Yeah.
Stark could work with Iden, and he could also work with. I mean, shoot, he could work with all the troopers. He could work with Iden. He can
Yeah.
work with Veers. He could work with if you're feeling froggy and you want to run Moff Gideon lead. Like he satisfies all of those, and like give him an Omicron, whether it's a GAC or maybe not a GAC because Iden's already going, but like give him a TW one. I think that'd be
Yeah.
cool.
I like that. My next faction that I think needs another Omicron somewhere else is Phoenix. You got the Territory Omicron. Go ahead and either a Grand Arena or a TB. I wouldn't like a TB Omicron because that would essentially mean that when you R8 your Phoenix for one of the new TB missions that you also would have to put on this Omicron. Unless they made it to where, oh, you can do it without the Omicron, but it'll be tough. But if you do the Omicron, it'll be easier. I just think Phoenix needs you know, another Omicron somewhere else. Like give it to Zeb. Like Zeb, I think is the perfect, you know, Zeb or Kanan. Throw it to one of them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think any of the Phoenix members I think would be fine. I just to kind of make them more usable because their TW one's good. Hera's Omicron is good. It allows them to be a legitimate team. That's not just beating Karth teams or like low level bounty hunter teams or like low level first order teams. Let them beat some Jedi Knight Revens and some CLSs. That was a good Omicron. Give him another one. Like throw it, like you said, throw it on Zeb, throw it on Kanan, something like that.
And then my last one, I'll surprise this one with you because I read my list to MDA before we started, but this one I'm going to surprise you with. And you're probably going to disagree with me on this one, but can we get a Resistance Territory War Omicron? Give
Oh,
it to
I'm
Poe,
with you there. I'm
give it
absolutely
to
with you there.
Poe or the pilot or the trooper, and just make it absolutely busted. Like I want to see, like I want a like Phasma type Omicron from for the Resistance. Something that like you can throw this thing on defense and it's gonna be awesome. You can use it on offense and it's gonna be awesome because it would be nice to uh, it's nice to be able to take the First Order as a faction and have two teams on it for Territory War that are very good. And it'd be nice if you could do the same for Resistance. You could take a full Resistance raid team, even though it's not the best, and beat stuff with it. And then you could throw your other one on defense and it get holds. That's what all I want from this game. And that's my list. I'm no longer going to speak anymore. I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, no, I've got just a couple to add. I think first, I'm less so than I was with Dooku, but I do think he does deserve a small rework, mainly just as Zeta. I think Cad Bane should get one. Cad
Oh
Bane is
yeah.
the only bounty hunter without a Zeta. And he is like so close to being good, but he's just not there. And I would love for him to get a Zeta and an Omicron that just makes him like allows him to like really elevate like these bounty hunter teams. Because again, pretty much like for Jabba teams, Jabba takes Hut Cartel, and he'll take one of I think it's either Embo or Boba Fett, and then usually you'll make a Bosk team, and then like you'll make like an Aura team. And I wish that like Cad Bane was just a little bit better, or he had something that just made him be usable, because his ship is great and we all have him relic for the ship and for Kenobi. But like again, for such a important and cool character in the Clone Wars, he's just like not good. Um, so I would love to see Cad Bane get one. What do you think about that?
I would love it. Like I I'm a big Cad Bane fan just because of I mean, he's needed for Executor, needed for Jabba. Why not? I mean, it makes sense. You need him for so much stuff, but he's absolutely I'm not gonna say useless, but he's pretty bad. I I think he needs some love.
So that was that there. I am looking at Galactic Republic, and
Ooh.
come on, Commander Cody needs one. I actually kind of really like his lead and the idea of his lead. Um, Clone allies gain 30% crit chance, and other allies gain half that. Cody gains 60% defense for each living clone ally, and other clone allies gain half that amount. Clone allies recover 5% of their max protection whenever they use a basic. I feel like you can make a really cool Omicron lead with that. And it's just this team with like constant assist or counterattacks or something. He can make a really cool like how like Phasma has her lead. I think you could
Yeah.
make a Phasma-esque team with Cody and like
I think
throw the
good.
clones there with that.
Yeah, I could see that, but then that's also like super niche now because now you're having to get rid of your gas team to run this Cody,
I
or you're
mean, but
having to get
like
rid of
if
Bad Batch.
you got to think though, I mean, Bad Batch can be run separately. They're their own team,
Yeah,
and a lot of people have been either running gas with JMK, or you could do. I think it's one of those things like you just put it there for the people who don't have gas. You now have like you can either run Shock T or you can run Cody, or for the people that like farms JMK and maybe they want to keep gas with JMK or something, like you just have it there and whoever uses it can use it. I don't know, like for just like I feel like Cody should be able to be used in the game because he's just not.
I would, I would much rather. I don't know. My big like dream for this game is to bring Padme lead in like PvP modes, bring her back to like more relevance because now with JMK and Qui-Gon Jinn Omni, Padme lead is essentially kind of it's still good. The problem is you just don't get anyone good to go with her. Like you basically break up the whole team and you can just it just gets Impus Nest soloed or like someone brings in like a decent bounty hunter team and takes it out. Like it's not good anymore. And I would love for like if you're gonna do Cody, I think you do it on like the unique and have it pair with Padme. That's gonna be my take.
See, that's the one thing though. Cody doesn't have a unique though. He just has a leadership.
Just has a lead. Then you give it to Clone Sergeant. You
Yeah,
make Clone
you know what?
Sergeant
If you want to give it to
Clone
Clone
Sergeant.
Sergeant, I'd be, you know what? If that's what it takes, give it to Clone Sergeant.
Yeah, and then you have Clone Sergeant synergize with Cody. That's it. That's how we get it.
Oh, I think I had one more here that I was looking at. Um,
Lobot,
I do love me some Lobot.
please.
Um, it's not gonna happen. Um, because Farm Boy got one, Princess Leia got one. I would have loved Lando to get one. Um,
Yes.
because like
Yeah.
young Lando's fine in the prepared team, and like Skiff Lando is in the Jabba team. To me, like the fact that OG Lando is just not used whatsoever is just depressing.
Yeah.
Um,
Or like Captain Han.
See, I use Captain Han with my Rolo team, or like
Yeah,
he's
true.
he's used there, but like even like Lando's not even used in the Sana team. Like he was like they call him out, but you just don't use him because he's just not as good. Um, you'd rather run like literally anyone else, and I would have loved if like Lando got a smuggler or a scoundrel like Omicron on his either unique or his lead or something, or like I don't know, like make it to where like his AoE can like keep stacking damage and like it just keeps
Yes.
going. And like I think you could like really lean into their whole idea that he's a gambler where like if you the more you keep stacking the higher the damage goes, but like the moment that you don't do this on his turn or if he's ability blocked, it goes back to zero. And it like really lean into that gambler mentality where like it's like Greedo, where like Greedo has the like no cap Greedo. Do something like that. I don't know how great that is, but like it's one of those things that just kind of makes me sad because like Lando's just everyone loves Lando and his character is just not OG Lando's just not good. Like Skiff great and young Lando's great. Not OG Lando though. I don't know if he deserves an Omicron, but like I just wish he was better. Um, Other than that, though, I think all the factions are kind of like doing all right. Resistance was kind of my big gripe, but like Zori just fixed that. Um, yeah, I'm pretty good there.
Well, that's all fine and dandy, I guess. But I mean, we have some more important questions to ask.
Yeah, that we
What's your
do,
farm order?
man. So I just got my Inquisitors to Relic 7. Oh man, I love this team so much. I could go on forever about how much I love the Inquisitors, but I am on to bigger and brighter things. I am farming Ray right now. So I am currently like hard farming the ships right now. So man, I am so ready to be done with the Ebon Hawk. I want to start farming relic material, and I'm at like 50 out of 100, and I'm just like counting down the days till I can be done with this. Um, I have been solo at gear 13. I don't have any of his Zetas or Omicrons, but he'll be getting those. But I'm farming Ray, and I'll be getting Zori as well. But so Ray right now, and then after Ray, I am going to go into Profundity, and I'm actually going to fully relic my Phoenix. I want my Profundity fleet to be as good as it possibly can, and I've also been looking for an excuse to relic my Phoenix. So, um, will I take them all to relic 8?
Yes.
Maybe. I honestly,
Yes.
I probably will. I might just make that my passion project and just say, hey, I'm doing this for the guilds. But even still, though, it's just for territory points. I'm like, I don't even know if this is worth it. But Phoenix are for sure getting relicked. Profundity, Ray, and I think that's it for right now. That should take me to like the middle of the year, I think, or at least like to yeah. So I think to like the middle of the year that should cover me. Um, but yeah. So Ray and Profundity. What about you? What are you working on right now?
Uh, I decided to go ahead and the one thing I do love about the C requirements is you'll be sitting there on a random Tuesday afternoon and you're like, hey, I'm like almost done with the C requirements. And you're like, this is like a 2 or 3 month detour. let's do it. And that's what I like about having C as like your third or fourth GL because by the time you're at that point in the game, like a lot of their requirements you just have unlocked. So I went ahead and I full shifted to C. But while I'm doing that, I'll start shard farming for the Inquisitors, and then I'll gear up the Inquisitors when I'm done with C.
Now,
And then
when you do the Sith Eternal events, you are welcome for getting Darth Sidious fixed.
I'll have to make sure to thank you.
Darth Sidious, he's actually usable now. Like he's not groundbreaking, but like homie does damage now. You'll be surprised when you get a Relic 7 Sidious. Like he actually does damage, and I actually like running him with C. Like he does stuff.
I'll make sure to like thank you when I don't have to farm like an accuracy mod anymore. Because I remember that was like a thing. Like you needed that accuracy mod
Yeah,
for that
you
mission.
needed the accuracy mod because like Sidious just like he was bugged, so he wasn't ignoring defense, and like he definitely will like get dodged sometimes, and like it is all dependent on you killing the Jedi to get your health back because Mace is like slowly chipping you away, and it was a nightmare prior to. You pretty much needed the Zeta, and now like you can just auto it. Like it's so
That's
easy.
nice. That isn't. It's actually like not depressing. But that's what I got in the cards. And then after Inquisitors, I don't know what I'll do. Might go after another GL, might not. I don't know. I'll see where it ends up. But I do want to start getting some of these like combat missions where like phase one, that young Lando and Kira. Like I want to get that team. I want to do that. I want to go ahead and who's another like that shucks, it's leaving my brain now, even though I just looked at it for the past 15 minutes. Uh,
Like Mason, Kit Fisto.
the Mason kit one would be fun. The like young Lando one would be cool because I think there's a young Lando one.
One character
Yeah,
I'm like super tempted to just stop what I'm doing and farm. Um, Hondo looks such a fun character, and like
Hondo is fun.
I know like I'm not gonna be able to get him in time for his Datacron and all that, and that's fine. But like he just looks like such a fun character, and they really did a good job like designing him and getting him to like his character feels like Hondo. I know some people wanted him to be a legendary, but like I personally think this is the perfect kit for him where like he works with literally anyone, and the whole point is he just like sits there, does some funny stuff with Ransom. Everyone dies, and then he just solos the team, and I just find that hilarious. Especially like in a Bam team, Bam or Dash, he just looks like he has a great fit to it. If I could passion farm anyone, I would like farmland or Hondo right now.
Mm. I The thing about Honda that's been pretty cool. If you've been listen, do you listen to the H&N podcast?
A little bit. During work, I'll listen to them sometimes.
Um, they have like two podcasts. Like they have one that's just like a news kind of thing, and then they have one called Under the Hollow Table or UTH. And UTH is kind of like their like they bring on like a Grand Arena expert and they have him talk about Grand Arena, or like they have them bring on like somebody who's like a territory battle expert and they like talk about it. They like had an episode where they brought in hot sauce from Hot Utils and they had him talk about Hot Utils for like an hour and a half. Like they do that's pretty much like what their gimmick is. Well, one of the most recent episodes, they brought in Clash, the scoundrel expert. They had him talk for like 2 hours about scoundrels, and he was talking about how like he's been loving Hondo because he can throw Hondo with that dash team on defense, and it messes up all the regular dash counters. He's like I'm noticing people have to like bring in like a gas or a CLS to beat it because the usual like cheap counters won't work. And I mean, that's pretty interesting from, especially since you need to have him at R5 for Afra. The fact that he's not going to be useless, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah,
But
that's what we're farming. Do we got anything?
No, I think we've been yapping for about what, an hour and a half now.
Yeah, we're coming on an hour and a half here.
Yeah, let's quit yapping.
Well, I see we have a few people in the live stream. I haven't seen any comments, but I see a few viewers. For the people that were in here before, appreciate you guys for stopping by. This link will be posted. I don't even know who I'm telling this to. Yeah, it'll be up in a little bit. But yeah, appreciate everyone for stopping by, and go do your TB waves. That's what you need to go do.
Yeah, go do that.